what's your thoughts on countering?
Okay.
Like, hypothetically, if you get accustomed to this, would that make you less of a counter?
No. We don't get accustomed to things. If we were just robots that got accustomed to the things that we did, we would never be able to solve novel problems, things we've never seen before. But we've all watched you roll. We know that's not true. You're able to solve novelty rather easily. You know what I mean? You're a more implicit emotional athlete. You know, you solve the problem right in front of you. You show how to do it every day. So you know you don't do that. So why do you think that's the case?
Well, that's the thing. I just do in comp what I do every day in training. And if I'm not countering, would that make it, like, would I not be aware of the ability to counter?
Maybe not. Let's imagine this was the only leg locking session you've ever done. Sure, you weren't exposed to any of the tasks that would allow you to counter your partner. However, this is not the only style of training that we would do. We could take all these small situations and we can add new tasks to them. So let me give you an example. D-Money? So rather than giving the defending player the job of pulling the leg free or working to the feet, we could have changed things. We could start getting him into a position where countering is what we're looking for. So let's say we started the attacking player with an entanglement. And again, my job is to do something like just capture the toes and connect my hands, something simple. If we want to get him towards countering, we would give him a job of stealing inside position. So the job would be for my defending player not to pull the leg out, but to separate the connections and get both their legs back to the inside. And so that way, his focus is now to get to a precursor position that allows entanglements to happen. So we can start training him to do that. Again, rather than fleeing, we are disconnecting for a new purpose.
So again, just with a different goal, you would implement, okay, instead of just disengaging, now you're gonna re-engage, you're gonna counter.
Exactly right.
So as your training goes on, you could change the constraints of the game. Let's say you did 1 week first guy, this first time anyone's seen an entanglement. I mean, you may just focus on those big issues like guys escaping and keeping the hips down. But when you're training with your guys, you could start adding, like he said, stealing inside position allows opportunities to counter. And you can start changing the constraints like that. You can do that with any situation, you know? But if we want to start with like just the major issues like keeping guys down, keeping a leg, we'll start with those kind of constraints and you can start adding into it.
Sure, yeah, sure. You got to think of the demands of the task is why we move. So beginners, right? Beginners never held a fucking leg before. They don't need to hear the 37 different ways you have to capture the toes and details. They've never touched a leg when someone's trying to run from them. That's the first thing we do. But a guy that has some exposure to it, they might need to do more nuanced things. When I was over at B Team, Nicky Rod asked a pretty good question. He said, when we design these games, are we ever thinking about counter-attacking? And this is something we want to consider when designing games to attack legs. Remember, it's not just one person attacking. What's interesting about the nature of leg entanglements and leg attacks is when we're both grounded and our legs are facing each other, we're both under potential threat. So we want to get our students used to the idea of countering the position. Okay, so we're going to play this in 2 ways. So for the first game, we're going to start simply one player's inside position. Their job is to keep their partner down while maintaining inside position. Entanglement of your choice, foot and knee, feet on the outside, feet to the inside, capture toes and heel, connect hands, all the stuff we've already done. But now the defending player has the exact same goal, but they have to capture inside position first. So they're not trying to stand up, they're not trying to flee, they're trying to get both their feet to the inside so they can entangle. Now, here's the deal. The defending player, all they have to do is accomplish the entanglement. They don't have to go towards toe capture or hand connection. They just have to counter the entanglement itself by gaining their own. So again, attacking player, entangle, capture toes, connect hands, win the game. Defender, steal inside position, and entangle. Let's see how it plays out. Hands connected? No. Good. Remember, you don't need to finish, you just need to connect. Change, other person's turn.
Good. Relax.